Right, I'm here in Ballyleague on the Longford border, a place where people don't seem to think exists, with Roscommon superstar forward Diarmuid Murtagh. Diarmuid, how are you keeping? And thanks so much for taking your time to meet me.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, keeping well now. Just putting the last few preparations in now for the club championship. So hopefully today now I'll sharpen up a bit in front of goal for the weekend coming.
No doubt you will, no doubt you will. I've always said before, I played with you briefly in the minors, and it was the first time I thought that, or I knew I wasn't good enough to make any county teams, and I see yourself playing. There's levels of this game, and you're someone who I seen as at the top, and I was down at Division 3 minor level, so hopefully I don't embarrass myself too much meeting you now today. Just coming off this season, obviously probably didn't go as great for Roscommon, but losing to All-Ireland champions. We're not to talk too much about that. How has your downtime been since the county season stopped?
Yeah, it's been great. Got back in with the club fairly early. I had an injury going into the last game with Roscommon in Armagh, a heel problem, so I kind of had to rest that for a small bit. But as Matt get back in with the club then, because when you're enjoying your football, you don't want to stop, and I really enjoyed the year with Roscommon, so you want to kind of keep that going and keep your standards up going into the club championship as well. But no, downtime has been good. Been away on a holiday, got engaged actually. So yeah, it's been good since, and we're training hard then for the club championship then. So yeah, all's been good.
So you're obviously practicing your lunges and split squats, getting down on the knee there.
Yeah. That's what to say anyways.
So I suppose to not talk too much about this season with Roscommon, the main talking point of this series is to compare club versus county. I suppose in your own words, what would you say is the big differences between playing club versus playing with your county? Yeah,
it's actually an interesting question, because I think it depends on the club as well, and the effort, and say maybe the money that's pumped into different clubs with, like, say, S&C coaches, video analysis. I wouldn't say commitment, because club players, like I know myself, my own club, like the lads travel from near and far for training. It's been a massive commitment. I'd say the big thing is time. I think that's the big difference between the two. As in, like, say with the Roscommon team, you could be meeting up 2.5 hours for training for meetings, or you could be staying on after for meetings, or you could have day sessions where you're training from morning to evening. You could have weekends away. So a lot of different things at time where you probably don't have time for much else. Yeah. Whereas with the club, you just don't spend as much time. Yeah. You train a lot. You might train similar evenings, but you're not at the ground for as long. So I'd say time is probably the big difference that I would say. Yeah, time is the big one.
As we were just talking off camera there, I think you said you made your first team debut for Faithleachs in 2012. What was the big differences between club standards in 2012 versus 2024?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, my first game, my debut, was a senior league final here against St. Bridget's, and I was marking Peter Dominican. So I think I touched the ball twice. And that was it. It was a real eye-opener for me. I suppose back in 2012, when I would have started playing with senior club football, it was the physicality. Like, it was nearly a case that teams were trying to build bodybuilders. It's all about how strong you were and could you break the tackle. Now it's nearly gone to agility and speed, which is good. It's great that it evolves all the time. So I think that is the big difference even between intercounty and club. I think it's gone more so speed, pace, rather than, say, kind of your stronger players. But you need those too as well. And I know a lot of people, S&C is still as important as ever, but it mightn't be so much as if you can bench 140 kg now. It's not as important as, say, how quick you can move on the field. Whereas back then, it kind of would have been your results in the gym might have paved the way for, okay, well, if he's that strong in the gym, he might be good enough to play for us here. So I think that has probably been the big difference. Kind of, it's gone from the physicality side of things to speed and agility.
Yeah, you can definitely see in that. Like,
and aerobic fitness as well.
Oh yeah, obviously, like the conditioning and the power and pace of inter-county players compared to club players. I suppose when you're playing at a high level, at senior club level, the step up probably isn't as much compared to, like, I'm from a junior club, and like I've briefly played against county players maybe once or twice, or the underdogs, and you kind of realise about, it's nearly like a professional athlete down to an amateur athlete at times. You don't find that at senior. Do you think senior players are thereabouts in terms of their conditioning and physicality?
Yeah, I do. I think senior club players are thereabouts, because again, like the commitment they put in, you just mightn't spend as much time with, like, your video work. You do all that sort of stuff, but like the aerobic fitness lads, like a senior club player now, is like, and a lot of people, I think it's a cultural thing in Ireland now, is people are looking after themselves a lot better, so they're getting out for runs, or maybe doing things like CrossFit, doing all these high rocks, so they're fit anyways, and then it's just a matter of, like, say, brushing up on their skills. So I think in general the whole kind of culture change of people in Ireland has changed, and that's why I think nowadays people are looking after their bodies better, and then it kind of transfers onto the field then when they're asked to do a job, and they're well able to go all day. So so I think, like, and I think that's kind of goes for all, like, you could play an intermediate or a junior club and you'd have players in the same condition. It's just, I suppose, then it comes down to skills and, like, better players on the day, you know, and winning games. So and then sometimes it can be hard when you're down in a lower division. It's hard to get out of it, even though you could be good enough. It's just the way it is. Like, you know, you automatically think in your head that the games are tougher, and then they become tougher. Because we were intermediate there for a couple of years, and it was really, really difficult to get out of it. All the games were really, really tough. And then when you're a favourite to win a game, it even gets tougher again. So, but, like, I just think in general, like, players, like lady footballers and male footballers, and camogie players and hurlers, just look after themselves away from football. Like, I can guarantee you, there's probably, say, if people aren't in training today, they're probably in the gym or out for a run, so they're going to be aerobically fit enough to play the sport. It's just a matter how good they are then. Yeah,
it's definitely the books that aren't, unfortunately, as well. I think definitely the days of training twice a week and playing a game the weekend, it isn't enough to get you by at a top level anymore. And just, I suppose, like, you're not on the go a long time now, I'm not calling you old, but how have you adapted your training personally since you kind of broke onto the scene, even at minor level? Like, I know you're talking about recently about improving your hips has made a massive difference to you. How is there, like, smaller things like that you've done over the years?
Yeah, it is. As I said, when I first came in with Roscommon seniors, and then obviously playing against the likes of Bridget's when I was playing with the club, and they obviously went on to win the All-Ireland in 2013, so that was a big step up for me playing against them. But, like, I was so focused on getting bigger, filling out the jersey. I wanted to make that step up really quickly. Like, I didn't want, my biggest worry was coming from a minor and someone saying I wasn't physically strong enough to play. So, like, I probably focused on that maybe a bit too much, and I probably put on a bit of bulk too much earlier on in my career, and then I was carrying maybe a bit of muscle mass that I didn't need, or maybe a bit of extra fat that I didn't need, but I just wanted to be heavier and stronger so I wouldn't be pushed around the place. And then I think that caused me to get a lot of, like, muscular injuries in my hamstrings and quads. And if you were playing with an intercounty setup, say for me in 2015 and 16, especially with Roscommon, like, I was getting injured in March with, like, say, during the National League or before the National League with a hamstring injury. Then you come back, you do it again, and next thing the whole year is gone. And then the same thing might have happened in 2016. Next thing, like, the years add up and you haven't played anything. So I think the big thing for me was finding the balance of being, like, say, maybe physical enough and aerobically fit enough, and like, was I too heavy? Like, I might have, in recent years, I've dropped a lot, say, my weight. I've kind of nearly have an off-season weight and a playing weight. And it's funny, like, my off-season weight would be lighter than my playing weight, because you naturally put it on as you get into the, say, championship. You're training less, your load is less training wise, but you're eating more because you're trying to fuel yourself for games. So you know you're going to plan that kg or whatever. So, like, that would have been something. And then obviously training the hips as well. It's just something I started doing myself, strengthening the hips, and I find that has helped with the muscular injuries. Please God, now I could go and kick a ball today now, and the hamstring could go, so hope I don't jinx myself. But I suppose I think for everyone it's what works for them, but that's what worked for me over the previous years anyways. That's kept me, say, training all the time and playing. Like, they're not sitting on the sideline watching games and training. The
most important thing is, I think it was Diarmuid had mentioned it, has been available, and availability is probably the most important thing for any GAA player. And, like, I probably tend to just drop back into bodybuilding every now and then, or maybe too often. But I, like that, when I was younger, I would have had a lot of hamstring injuries, thinking that I'm going to go in and do these mad leg workouts, thinking that's going to solve all my problems. But when you come out and try and twist and turn on the pitch, that's when you're getting these injuries. And, like, that's the athleticness, is that a word? The athletic ability of GAA players, both club and county now. And it's all these young lads. They're all, I don't know what they're feeding these young lads. They're all 6 foot plus, and these lean machines, and they're fast and quick. And it's, as you're saying, it's probably a lifestyle change. And in everyone in general that it's helping improve our players overall.
Yeah, and I think even like with hamstring injuries, like you said before about sprinting, like I would have always thought when I was coming back from a hamstring injury, like mind yourself there for a couple of weeks, don't sprint here. But now it's kind of like that was a completely wrong thing to do. I should have been getting up to my top speed as quick as possible, because that's probably the best rehab for a hamstring injury. So I think as well, like that can pave a lot of the way for it as well. And you come back from injury, you're minding yourself, and then you're not training at a good standard, then you end up picking up an injury again. So it's hard to find the balance. But as I said, everyone kind of finds their own way of minding their bodies, especially when you get a bit older. You kind of know what works for you, and like what works for you might be totally different to your teammate. So I think that's important as well. And
that's so important as well when like you hear this, if I'm working with individuals online and they're told that you're not doing your own individual plan anymore, you have to do the team's S&C. And if someone is, not just trying to plug myself here, obviously if you after going out of your time and spent money to go to a coach to get a tailored plan for your specific reasons and your specific goals, getting that taken away from you, I think coaches are coming from it in a good place. It's like, right, everyone has to do the same thing because we're all the one team. But if I have a hamstring injury, or if I have a hip issue and I'm gone to someone to get that done right, going in and maxing out on a trap bar deadlift isn't going to be for me. But again, that probably comes at time, as opposed to just like when you're younger, maybe just doing those basics is probably most important for you at the moment. And then over time you'll find that. So just to finish off this first section, what I did the last day was we were going to take a shot from the end line. What side of the goals do you want to go from?
See which way the wind is going. Might go from that side.
Perfect. We'll give it a go. Right, Diarmuid, as the guest, let you go first. It's I know I was messing last time saying there was a gale force wind. There actually is a bit of a gale wind here today, so that's my excuse out of the way.
a few of the club lads, when they're playing here, they call it Chicago.
The windy city.
Yeah, it's very windy. It's not an easy one to score in now. I'll go ahead here. No.
Just come in now.
Wind didn't help there anyways. Better effort than mine, and that's your weak foot. It bounced over though.
Bounced over, the best points ever. I'm not going to count that one up. I'm going to go.
It's gone now. There might be a keeper in goal anyways. Good bounce over.
Sweeper keeper. Oh! Some fucking wind.
Very strong.
Ah, Christ.
That's nearly probably better with the outside than the right if you're right.
Try outside the boot next.
I won't go with the outside. Could end up in the other pitch.
Coming. Score.
They could have went wide the far.
I think that went over.
Oh, we give it.
A video review.
Hometown decision.
No, wide, near.
Huh?
Near
both. Small bit.
So upon video review, Diarmuid shot went wide on the far side, so that's 0 from 3 from the end line. But not to pick out Mark Diffley, you did come above above the line, so we'll give Diarmuid props on that one. Just you touched on there on nutrition. You said that's a big thing that you kind of been looking at. Looking at the camera there, it's going to fall. How important is nutrition in terms of your performance, and how have you changed yours over the years?
Yeah, it's probably again something. Probably when I was younger, it's probably a bit of advice younger players could take was, when you have a nutritionist, you're probably not getting the most out of them. Like say what you're putting into your body, like you'd be surprised at the things like say tracking your food and things like that. That would have been something as I progressed I would have taken a lot more serious that I probably should have taken in my younger years as well. But I think it's very important. I just think it's important for performance and how you're feeling in every aspect, whether it's when you're not training, when you're training. I just think it's one of those things that's controllable, I find. And like if you can control a lot of those things that you're in control of, you'll be in a happy place playing a football match or training. So no, it's just something I would have focused on, like even like more so with like the build up to games and stuff, like with carb loading and things like that. So that would have been something that I would have maybe not have taken as serious maybe 8 years ago that I would take now. And even now you'd still be learning what works for your body, especially with food. I think that, like when you get a bit older, you kind of know how your body works with training, injuries, what you need to do to look after. But with food, you're kind of always learning because there's so much out there, and what sits in your tummy best, like can be again different to other people.
Yeah, and I suppose with that, with food, at this time of year, I think sometimes the old school approach comes out of nowhere and people come out of the woodworks telling you need to be eating grapes instead of eating potatoes and this kind of stuff. Have you made like any kind of, not mistakes as such, but like have you tried supplements or tried something as like, oh, that's not working for me, and a time you shouldn't be doing it, or come game time you always know, I know exactly what I'm going to do?
Yeah, I know now exactly what I'm going to do. Like say, like, but obviously with Roscommon, our pre-match meal will be the same. Like you'd have options, of course, and I obviously keep to the same what I'd have, and then I actually keep that for the club as well. So I've got the recipe off the nutritionist and what it is, so I keep that so I know how I'm going to feel in a club game as well. One thing I probably focused on a lot was carb loading the day before games, and actually found I wasn't feeling great, even though you should feel good. Like the carb loading is there to slow releasing carbs, so like you're ready to perform on the day. But I found out a lot of it was sitting in my stomach. So what I started doing was maybe eating a small bit more of carbs throughout that week of a game, rather than say maybe having a massive carb load the day before. And that's something that I found worked for me. But again, you could talk to someone else next week and they could tell you to swear by the carb load the day before and the grams of carbs were meant to meet. So yeah, that's just something that worked for me. I found I didn't have as much food maybe sitting in my tummy. It felt better playing. You just feel better, I suppose. Yeah, it's one of those things that, again, as I said earlier, it's what works for you, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like that has worked for me, just as in I feel better on the pitch. Yeah,
and that's so important. Like, if people are looking to get a magic answer from any of these interviews, you're not going to get a magic answer. It's going to be find what works for you. And you're saying like you're 8 years ago, you're still learning from then and even longer and playing. Nearly every year there's probably like one little tiny aspect of something. And like you're saying, there's so many new foods and protein puddings and protein this and carb that. Like you're going to give it a go, and that something new might be something that just takes it from a 97 to 98. It's going to be rare. You're going to get something that takes it from feeling 40% to feeling 100%. But what was really important you said there is controlling all the controllables that you can, and like covering all bases, and that's so important in terms of your training and in terms of nutrition, which obviously then leads into confidence. And I think especially as an inside forward or half forward as well, confidence is such a massive aspect of, not to ignore the defenders obviously as well, but when you have all that done, do you find that your confidence comes knowing that I have all this done, so all I have to worry about then is kicking this over there?
Yeah, well that's it. Yeah, like I can only control my preparation for the game. Like I can't even control my teammates. But I suppose you've done everything right, so I suppose you've no excuses if things don't go well. And when you're playing the opposition, that I can't control how they prepare or how they play. Well, you might be able to control certain aspects of how you play and how they play, like attitude and whatever, but work rate and all that, all the buzzwords that people like to throw out there. But it's just, it's confidence from knowing you've prepared well. And I think everyone's different though. I think I'm a very routinic person, so I like to have all those things prepared, where someone else might rather be thinking about everything else but preparing for a game, and they might perform better on the day. But that's just the way I am, so I'm just confident in myself going out on the field, and I have all those things, I suppose, ticked off the week of a game or the day before the game or the day of the game. So then you're kind of like, you have no excuses then if you don't perform. You just weren't good enough in the day, and that's it, you go again.
That's it. I suppose just you're saying you check off your stuff during the week. Are you someone who would journal, or do you have like notes in your phone, Rent, and do you physically tick these off, or is it kind of a mental tick off that when you're doing this checklist?
Well, we'd have a psychologist, and so obviously you'd always be doing a bit of work with her, and you'd be having great conversations on how to prepare for game and get the mental side of things right. I wouldn't be one that would journal as in, say, during the week. I'd know what I need to do during the week, like say, but I wouldn't be one that would journal all the time. Maybe at certain times you might like reflect on training sessions, on matches, but I wouldn't be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday writing in the morning or the evening. I don't feel like it's something that I need to do, or that suits me to do, because I feel like I'm okay in that department, but it's everyone for themselves. Like some people need to do that to help themselves, but maybe after training sessions or matches I might reflect on my own performance and then park the game or park the training. But I do that for most trainings and games. But like say, like my everyday life, I wouldn't be journaling or doing affirmations or anything, even though I think they're a really good idea, but I just don't feel like it suits me to do them.
Yeah, and again, going back to finding what suits you and what works best for you as well.
Yeah.
And so, like with the confidence as well, and having these checklists and stuff in game, if something goes wrong, you miss a free, you miss a shot. Do you have any kind of tactic that you use to bring you back to, right, that's done now, there's still another 50 minutes left in the game, or maybe it's another 5 minutes left in the game? Do you have anything to kind of bring you back to, right, this game isn't over yet, let's move on?
Yeah, well, that's where the psychologists are very helpful. Like, she'd give our psychologist Kelly Fay, she's excellent. She'd give you like little tips and things like that, especially if you are a free taker, or maybe are in specific moments, like you're a keeper taking out a kickouts. You'd see a lot of lads with tape on the wrists, and I'm one of those that does that as well. And you might have something on it to refocus you, or you just might have some sort of cue like that works for you to bring yourself back into the present, that you're not worrying about what happened or not thinking about the end result, so that you're staying in the present. So you'd have a few tips from the psychologist to help with that. So one of them is usually like, say, tape on the wrist, and you might have something written on it that brings you back into the present time.
Yeah, that's good. And everyone will find that. I was chatting with Mark about this as well. My quote I said to myself is just win the next ball. I have the tape that's more so for the roof than anything else. And I've heard people having an elastic band and they pull it, and that's their physical reset. Or keepers, you always see in soccer, they're velcro their gloves back after making a mistake.
Pick the ball out of the back of the net. That's their cue to get back into it.
As well, just like at this time of year coming into championship, and younger players, maybe it's their first year stepping up to senior, and when you're younger, mistakes can seem like it's the end of the world. Maybe you miss a shot on goal and the team loses by 2 points or something. Would you have any tips for younger players or even underage players, just to kind of, the sun's still going to come up now tomorrow, it's not the end of the world, me saying it versus yourself saying it might be something different. So do you have any tips for younger players?
Well, that's something that I do, like after a game, like for younger or older players, like say if you're disappointed after a game, maybe give yourself that hour after the game to write down maybe 3 things that you actually did well in the game. You'd be surprised what you can find now. Sometimes I've done it now and I've found it very hard to get 2 points out of it, but and then like maybe something you need to focus on, maybe not something that you did wrong, but something you need to focus on. Like say if you're a defender, it might be contact tackles. If you're a forward, maybe kicking 100% from your free kicks, or taking on your man every time you get the ball, things like that. So, but I think it's important to realise that you're more worried about what you've done wrong than anyone else is. Everyone else has gone away from that pitch and they don't care what you're after doing, what you're after missing. So you're overthinking, and where no one else is too concerned about it. So I think it's just kind of one of those things, like you'll always have another match, like and anyone who plays well, you'll always only be as good as your last game. Someone there waiting to criticise you if you don't play well after playing well. So it kind of works the opposite as well. But I just think not to overthink it. I think and it's a hard thing as a younger player, because you're going away then doubting yourself, or you want to prove yourself to other people around as well, and then when you don't play well, you're thinking, everyone thinks I'm useless here, but in fact they're actually gone home thinking about, they're gone to the pub, they're gone with their wives, girlfriends, boyfriends, whatever. They don't care about what you're after doing. So maybe something like writing down 2 good things and 1 thing to focus on the next set, and then that's it. On to the next training session.
That's such a good point as well. Like just focusing on yourself, see where you can improve on, and making a plan to improve on that, I think is awful important. Like just say if I'm coming out here and I miss after missing 10 shots inside the D, and if I say, right, I need to get better at that, but then I don't do anything, I go to training the next day. As a free kick taker, and has been a free kick taker probably your whole life, how often do you come down and practice free kicks in isolation outside of collective team trainings? Probably not as much now, but when you were developing as a player.
I'd actually try and do it as much as I can now. Obviously when you get older, life gets in the way, and like you might have as much time to do those things, but like obviously maybe before and after trainings, you'd always try and get a good few balls kicked over the bar, and then maybe once or twice a week on your own. Then I think it is important. I think for a free taker, it's important to get out more than you have to be doing more than what your team is doing, like because that's your specific role. Like same with a keeper, like they need to be out like practicing kickouts for a lot longer. It's just to get better at it, and and the more you practice, like the more confidence you get from that. It's like something. It's like I nearly look at like say getting out, kicking the ball the week of a game as something along as important as my nutrition. Like it's one of those things that I've ticked off. I've got that done now. I've practiced. It's been a good practice. I'm ready to go in the game, and then if I miss them in the game, it's not my fault. I've done everything I can going into the game, and if I miss it, it's just maybe a bad day in front of goal, or the wind is different or whatever. But as you can see up here now, you get every sort of weather to practice. So when you're playing a league game in the Hyde in February, it doesn't really throw me off now, because it's as windy here as it is in there. But yeah, just I think you do have to be doing extra. Yeah, you do have to be doing extra, and I would do that. And it does help a lot. It does help. Just so you get that confidence from that then.
And how many balls did you kick then when you're going practicing your free kicks? I know, like when you're younger, and I say a fake job that I have, I come down here for 2 hours every day. Whereas your teacher, when you're full-time work, you say, right, you're taking 30-40 shots, or how many would you take?
Yeah, I wouldn't overdo it. I wouldn't overdo it. I don't think there's need to overdo it. It's kind of like I might start in at the 13 there and kick over 5 balls. I know it's like one of those that you probably should never miss, but it's just kind of, you're kicking the ball, it's that routine, you're practicing your technique. Then you might move a small bit out further to the sides and down the middle. So I might kick maybe 20 or 25, 20 to 30 balls maybe. Depending if I have someone there with me kicking them back out. It's not nice if you have about 7 balls now and you kick them, you have to run in after them. No, yeah, I would maybe 20 to 30 balls, and I find that is plenty. Whether that's once or twice a week, just once you get that practice in, it's good for the head to have it done.
Yeah. And do you practice then in play scenarios and you're doing that, or is it solely on free kicks, or do you kind of do a little bit on the move as well?
Yeah, I would. I do maybe 20 dead balls, so practicing free kicks. I obviously take them out of my hands. I'd actually practice from both sides as well, just because you never know, especially with marks now as well. You could catch a mark over there, so you need to practice. It might be on your right side, but and then I'd always be practicing with my right foot as well. It's not something that might have been a strength of mine over the years, but I think it's nice to vary up your game a lot as the years go on. So I'd maybe practice a lot more on the run with the right foot then from different sides. So yeah, I wouldn't be all just standing still kicking frees. Like, I do a bit of run, and it's good actually because you need to warm up before you kick as well. So that kind of shooting on the run kind of gets you ready for the frees when you're putting in more of an effort, so you're not getting injured on that day as well.
Exactly. So just the last one of this, and now, what are your thoughts on like the advanced mark, just I suppose as a forward?
It's great when you're winning the mark and you're putting it over the bar, but it's very annoying. It is very frustrating when you're playing against a team and someone just kicks it in. I think it takes away from that flair of a forward now. Now, in fairness, the one thing you'd have to say, it's nice for a forward that when you win a mark like that, there's not 4 lads jumping on top of you, next thing steps and it's a free out. Yeah. I don't really like it though. If I had my way, I'd probably get rid of it, because it just takes away from like a fella, like the amount of games you play now, whether it's with the club, and lads are doing the right thing by taking the mark and getting the score, but it takes away from like a fella winning the ball, giving it off the shoulder, goal then, and the game is more exciting then, and next thing the kick out's gone and they're down the other end doing the same thing. So I'd probably scrap it. Now it is a skill to kick the ball into someone's chest and for them to take it and pop it over the bar, but like you see a lot of the time now, a fella's kicking the ball into the corner of the 45 just inside the line. You have a fella coming up and he takes a mark and he just kicks it back to your man. You know, he's taking the mark as if he's going to shoot. I find like the mark nearly, sometimes if you can't shoot them, it nearly gets you in more trouble, because the team can press on the players and you can't get away short then. So I think it just takes away from but even from a defender's point of view, I feel sorry for backs sometimes, say especially when they're on your own team. Like, you know how good of a one-to-one tackler that lad is. You know this fella might be able to take him on, and he doesn't get that chance to do that, to show his skills. Like, he's on the pitch for being a good defender, and he doesn't get a chance to showcase that. Whereas like, you could be a lazy forward and make a good run, and someone puts it on a plate for you, and you can just put the hand up and like, just your man walks back for you, but you know that fella wouldn't be able to get a shot away from open play on him. So it is a bit. It's one. I don't think there's much need for it.
As someone said before, it's a forwards world playing football, unfortunately, for defenders sometimes. And the rule as well, that if you don't call a mark, you have 4 seconds or 4 free steps as well. So just like that, if you do try to take a man on and he tackles you and you don't get past him, you still get a free. And if you're someone maybe, if you don't like taking marks for whatever reason, then the free kick taker comes over. And it's like it's a win-win. I suppose trying to promote that kicking, but
it's probably just trying to take out the 15 behind the ball type thing, but it'll be a hard thing to overcome, I think, you know, like no matter what rules you bring in. But hopefully the game will evolve a bit more and open up a small bit more in the coming years. Hopefully.
So I suppose, speaking of marks and free kicks, we'll move out to 13-metre line. We'll take 3 more each, and I'll let you pick where you want to kick them from.
Actually, we'll take them from the middle here.
Perfect. I actually meant to ask you as well, do you, I suppose when you're not going to do a mad sprint and then take a free, just get the hammer down, because like I took someone on down the line and then, you know, you get fouled in and then It's
It
really
is
high,
hard.
and then you're just trying to
You
get back into the game. And
no matter how much you practice, you can't emulate that game. It's like a good example of it is it's like golf, going to the driving range.
yeah,
You'll hit the balls perfect all the time. But when you're in a match, it's like hitting the ball off the tee. You could hit 100 tee balls off the tee box in golf, but you've only maybe 16 chances to do it in a golf course if you have par threes included in that. And if you fuck up that one, you feel like you've ruined the same with a free in a game.
Yeah.
Like you can't emulate. Like there's more pressure on it no matter how much. Because if we could kick these 6 balls, I could take the 6 of these balls and kick them, and I could miss one but score 5, and sure it's grand.
Yeah.
In a game, I might only get 1. You know, and if you miss
the
that,
difference. I'll let you take a second to compose yourself there.
Yeah.
We'll hopefully score these 3.
I know, yeah. Body gets stiff when you cool down a bit.
Yeah, exactly. So try to keep the questions a little bit short if I can.
You're grand. It's actually harder free for a right footer there to win. You have to give it a bit more.
Yeah, is it looking knocked at the post?
If I kind of let it out, it kind of just comes in for me. I don't have to put much power on it.
Try your left. I go with you. I say if I went all right now, people be giving out.
I go with the right. Yeah, it comes in lovely. I'll go with the right.
I'll try and outside the boot, just push it off.
Outside the boots are key.
6 from 6. Easy.
It's lovely when they go well.
Yeah.
The outside of the boot.
So we got 6 from 6 there, shooting went a little bit better from that range. And just kind of we're talking off camera there, you've won plenty of Connaught titles over the years, minor, under 21, senior and with your club. And Pearse Stadium probably has a little special place for you, winning 2 Connaughts there with Roscommon and winning a Connaught there with Faithleachs. I suppose you can't really compare the differences between them, but like how different did they feel when you're winning them at the time?
Yeah, it's a funny one. We're just saying it actually is. It's 2 totally different feelings. Like I know, like a lot of people are asked. I nearly dislike the question. Would you rather win an All Ireland with Roscommon or your club? Like it's come on, like you'd rather win both. But like obviously, I know obviously where you start with your club, that's where you'd obviously your first preference be. But it's very, very different. Like say, I suppose the aftermath of winning both of them is very different. So I suppose like for me, the reason it's so special with the club because when you're in Pearse Stadium and you're lifting the Connaught Intermediate title, and obviously you want to win senior titles, but the Intermediate was very special for us at the time. And just to see your whole parish out on the pitch, and I'd say you get them all into the D there, you know, and and then even like coming back we came back up to the clubhouse here, and like people had bonfires lit, and it's just really, really special because you know you're making a smaller group of people really happy. Whereas when you win it with Roscommon, it's the county, it's a bigger group of people, and the time with the team afterwards is obviously special in the dressing room, and it's lovely coming back to Roscommon. But once you get back to Roscommon, it's mayhem then, and you mightn't see half the lads, and you know the town is busy, and it's just kind of goes, you go with the flow, you know, whereas really a lot more personal here with a smaller group. So obviously it's 2 different sort of types of celebrations as such when you win both of them, but obviously both of them are special and you wouldn't be swapping any with anything else, you know. But you know, it's both of them you can't really pick, but it was just more personal when it's your club, and that obviously maybe might mean a bit more then. And
that year you'd won the Intermediate in Roscommon. I think you had got to the final the year before. Had you kind of said that, was it, or we're just going to win the county final, or had you had internal goals for the group that we're going to go on further than just winning Roscommon? So
the first year we got relegated, like it's a dangerous way to think. You think because you're a senior team coming down, you might bounce straight back up. And like we obviously set our stall out that was going to be the case, as any team would when they're a senior team getting relegated, or an intermediate team go down to junior, you want to bounce straight back up. And we didn't. We lost St Dominic's. Got well beaten by St Dominic's in the semi-final our first year, and then we kind of reset and thought like maybe did we do enough to deserve to be county champions that year. And then thankfully we won it the year after. And then it's one of those things you kind of take it one step at a time. I know it's an old boring cliche that people say I'm not thinking ahead, but we'd be lying if we say didn't think in the back of our minds if we won Roscommon here, because we haven't got a bad old team here, we could get on a bit of a run. So like that would always be in the back of your head. You obviously can't get too far ahead of yourself or you will get caught, but you do think in the back of your head, like, geez, it'd be special to go on a bit of a run here in Connaught with your club. Thankfully we did, and then after winning Connaught, then you're kind of thinking, imagine playing in Croke Park with your club, like, it'd be special, and we just missed out losing to Trim, so that was a bit, it's a bit annoying. It's a regret there in that game, because there was not much in it, and there was a few opportunities in the game. I know myself, I missed a few in that game. You're thinking if you could go back and just repeat it, just to get us to Croke Park. You know, you wouldn't even care about winning the final, just to run out with your club. Obviously you'd want to win the final, but like, it just would have been a special moment for us, the club, because we're a small enough club, we're a rural club, so yeah, it was definitely something we were thinking of, say, when we were, say, maybe got relegated at first. You're thinking, oh, if we win that, we could go on a run here, you know. So
it's funny, like, if we were, the year we got to the Connaught final was completely different. Like, we got a little bit of a byway because we lost to second team in the final, but like, we went to extra time, went to a replay, and we lost, and then we went on to Connaught then. But we kind of started the year, and speaking of rural clubs, the 2 years before that we didn't get over the group stage, so we weren't thinking of anything close to a Connaught final or a final. It was just about, like, what would have been said out loud, it was kind of like, let's just get out of the group and let's go from there. Then you win a quarter final, and then you're like, okay, that's not bad. Then you're in a semi-final against Ballyleague, and nothing against Ballyleague, but it was a tight game that we thought on our day, you know, we have a chance to win that. You win that, all of a sudden you're in a county final, and the party atmosphere around our town, the 3 villages or the 3 parishes, like that, you fit them all in the D there. We hadn't been in a final at all since 1996. Like, I'm born in '94, I don't even remember anything about it, and just kind of like that, the joy you see it brings to people, and like that, the biggest regret was not coming away with any silverware at all, but just like that, it's hard to kind of explain, I suppose, if no one has ever been in that situation. Yeah,
you kind of get in a high there, as you were saying, when you're getting out of the group and you're winning games, just momentum, and next thing the club is, everyone's behind you, and next thing you're getting more people at the game, and it's just the confidence thing just keeps building and building. Like, Armagh this year win All Ireland, like, they just got in a run, and they just probably felt a bit invincible, and that's the way it worked out for them. You know, it just, when people start getting behind you, it's like, oh, it's meant to be, and next thing you start believing, and things can happen then that are special. So yeah.
So just in terms of your approach to the club season versus the county season, do you have any individual goals you want to hit for Faithleachs and then for Roscommon, or do you have just one goal for the whole year? It's like, right, this is what I want to cover this year, or do you kind of split it up, right, this is the county season and then this is the club season?
I think you can't really focus on the two at the same time, because when you're with the county team, it's unfortunate you don't get to spend a lot of time with the club at all. So you're not really there or seeing, you're trying to hear as much as you can, but you might just have the time. You'd set your goals out separately, but like, I know in the back of my head, every time I come back to the club, like, I only really have one goal. I wouldn't train, like, I can't say here I'm training to win one club game. Like, that's just wouldn't be me at all. Like, I'm training to win a county title for Roscommon. We could lose our 3 group games, I don't know that, but I'm not preparing myself for that. You know, I'm always preparing myself, and if I don't, and like, it can sound silly sometimes, because you think last year you might be coming back off the back of maybe a year that didn't go that well for us, and then, like, people think, what right have you to think you can win a county title? But you always have to have that belief, or at least prepare yourself as best you can, and then you can have no regrets. And I think like, and see where that takes you. Again, you can just get momentum, and you know, you just never know where that could take you. But of course, like, you're smart enough to know that you're playing against very good teams as well, and it mightn't go right for you too. But I don't think you can get too bogged down in that. I think you can just focus on yourselves and preparing yourselves as best. And I suppose if you don't have that bit of ambition, you're probably never going to achieve it. So even if you don't achieve it, what's wrong with having belief in your teammates and yourself to go wherever you want to go, you know? And
that's so important. That it's a difference between being ambitious and optimistic and then being completely delusional. Like, if you're training once a week, and you know, after the club or the county season finishes, you go off on the piss for 3 or 4 months and then come back, like, you're realistically not going to think you're going to win at that stage. But if you're telling everyone, I'm going to be player of the year here, it's different. Whereas if you have a good group of players here, and like, if everyone is doing what they can to improve the team as a whole,
why can't you, like, say for example, you know, St. Bridget's there at the moment, they're the second best team in Ireland. Like, we're all aware of that. Like, we're not stupid enough to think that you're going to go up to Kiltoom and beat them by 20 points. But you just never know how a game can go. You never know, like, weather conditions, all these sort of things. I was saying here, like, people describe this place as Chicago. like if you're playing here in a month's time and the pitch might be a bit wet and it's windy, like it doesn't matter who you're playing, it's going to be difficult for everyone. So you can just never judge, like, and it's 15 against 15 every time you go out. You never know what way a game can go, and you don't know how other lads are feeling and how well they're prepared, and you just never know. Yeah,
and so you've a good group of players here, and I know a couple of them, and like Kevin Farrell has to get a mention. I said I wasn't going to mention him at all, but like, there's a couple of brothers in the team, and obviously your brother would have been playing with Roscommon for a long time with you as well. Having that kind of connection as a forward, how important is that in county and in club, like having, just say you're both playing inside or playing forwards together, to know what someone's going to do? And I think I had to bring it up as well. My favourite goal, I think, ever has to be Cian Connolly's goal in that Connaught final, and the reason is because of the pass in. Was that something that you just knew what he was going to do, or was that just off the cuff, like, right, he's making that run, I'm just going to pick him out?
Yeah, well, it was one of those, the space was there, so I kind of had to hit it anywhere there, like, and he was left 1-on-1 inside, and Cian's movement is excellent. Like, he's really elusive, very agile, really quick on his feet. I'm sure you'll see it in the club championship this year with Roscommon Gales. So I kind of knew, like, his run, like from training with him, I knew he doesn't, like, he always likes to be a danger when he's playing inside. So I knew he wasn't going to just come for the easy ball out the wing. So I knew he was probably going to go back towards, because he was going to be more of a goal threat. So. And then I was lucky, it's just one of those things that worked out with the weather. It was bad weather that day, and the ball could have slid like over the end line. It could have went anywhere at all. Just for Kevin's mention, you'll never see him doing a pass like that. If we're speaking about forwards and scoring and good passes, Kevin doesn't deserve a mention of this.
I had to get that in, unfortunately. Sorry, Kevin. So just you're looking at the Tyrone game this year as well. Like, you hit form, Connor hit form, Dara hit form, Donny hit form. How, like, when you have a day like that, how enjoyable is it when a couple of forwards come together and it's like, right, everyone is on fire here?
Yeah, it's more frustrating when it doesn't happen, because you're seeing it in training, and I suppose you're getting that connections in training. It's like you were saying there, when you're playing with your siblings, like, you know how you like to play. Like, when you see someone training, you nearly know their movement. I think that's actually a very valid point for any young forward coming up. Is I think the best forwards know what the players out the field are going to do with the ball. Like, if you watch Kerry there, you'd see Clifford, like, every time Sean O'Shea gets the ball, he knows that O'Shea can put it either side of him. Whereas if, say, maybe a defender comes up, or like their defenders are actually skillful, so they could do it, but like, he might only like to kick it with the instep down the wing, so he knows he'll have to run down the wing. So I think about knowing your players. That Tyrone game, we were obviously, everything clicked for us. I think we played our man, we left our shooting boots in Tyrone, but I suppose it was nice that, like, we were seeing that maybe in trainings on a regular basis, and it's frustrating then in your championship or league games that's not happening. But we had great belief going into the game that we could do that, and thankfully it paid off. Just it's a pity it didn't pay off for us in Croke Park as well, when we had the opportunity as well.
Like, it's great, like, as a fan, which I am, obviously, that scene when you've seen these players and you know the quality that, like, yourself has and that Dara has and Donny has, and we can get these unreal performances on these days. Like, they're kind of like a Roscommon, like, we're a little bit realistic on our side of things anyway, that, like, we're probably not going to see up on the steps every single year, and like that you have to hope that we can be there. But I think when people I think Roscommon get kind of slack. Like, when they're going well, everything's great, but when the performances aren't going well, they're the first ones to get all the podcast experts saying that they're not up to much, and they're an aging team and all this kind of stuff, which is frustrating, because like obviously no one is in the camp, and in the camp is different. Like, I'm not going to be asking any secrets now or anything like that, but I suppose just to kind of touch back on the club scene and how important it is, like that, to know when to make a run and when not to make a run as a forward. Because you see it so often that as an inside forward, someone's like this with the ball and the run is made, and then they give out, oh, why did you kick me the ball? Knowing when to run, when not to run, knowing your players, especially with the club scene. Like, you probably know these books since you can barely walk. Like, it's easier to know what to do.
But that's the thing about the freshness then. There's always someone new coming in then, and you're getting to know them, and that's what keeps you going. Like, it keeps the freshness within the team, and that's why like, managers that might change up teams, bring in new lads, freshness, and you have to get to know them and what way they play and stuff. But it's actually interesting you say there about, like, when Roscommon lose, like, say the criticism comes extra hard. I think people forget, and like, it's probably like we would probably take that in a good way, as in, like, maybe we're at that level. Say maybe this year we're in the top 8, which we haven't been in a while. People forget that. It's nearly like people are looking at us as if we've been playing semi-finals every year, that we should be there, but we haven't. Like, we haven't done it, and that's obviously down to us. But that's the level you're at, and it's great. If you're being criticised and you're in the media, it means that maybe someone might think you're half decent, that you could do something good. But like the level, like the margins are so like small. Like if you are not at it day in day out, like them teams are going to beat you. And you could play brutal and win by a point, and you could play unbelievable and lose by a point. And if you win and play bad, like say you're really defensive, say, and you win a game 7-6, people will say, yeah, they're great, but they won't care about that in 2 weeks' time. You could score 220, and that's the way everyone wants you playing. Or lose 221 to 220, and next thing everyone's saying they're no good. You know, they're no good, even though that's the way we want them playing. You know? So it's funny, like it's funny, but you'll always have that. I think you can't get too bogged down, and everyone's going to have an opinion. And look, it's such a popular sport in our country. Everyone's following it, like you know, with that, the hurling. So it's great. It gets people chatting, doesn't it? You know?
Everyone's an expert no matter.
Yeah,
you can't keep everyone happy, like.
That's it. And even within squads, we're all experts and we know what to do. But sure, anything can happen. Like you can't control what the other team's going to do. You know. Yeah,
exactly. So before we get cold again, we'll take another couple of shots. I'll let you pick a spot anywhere inside the 45. We'll take 3 each and see what we get on.
We'll take them here at the. We'll just come out a small bit further, I suppose, near the 45.
Perfect.
Test that
out
outside of the right peg. It's going to be a big kick.
She's a big win there. You see that? So we're not lying. We're not lying with more than it's windy.
Big wind. Now hips could go here now. Not short.
Oh, short.
Judge win that time.
Right. I'm going to go outside though.
Yeah, you nearly have to. You wouldn't be able to curl it over.
I'm going to aim nearly outside the second back net, and it's probably going to come in.
You would, yeah, easily.
Ah, fucking wide right.
It's very strong. It's hard to get the distance when you curl it. You see the flag behind the goals. Right.
Dodge umpire, I would have gave it. It's
I'm going for 3 in a row.
Shit. Jesus
Very
Christ.
strong though, isn't it?
Help if I kicked it all right.
I'm stealing a few yards here. Like
yeah.
Wide as well. I want to be controversial.
Hawkeye. I say, I give it that one. I say Hawkeye might have had it in.
Neil.
No way. Muck.
We'll have to do that one again.
Wind just died down there.
Oh.
Alright, I'll go outside the right. Oh!
Clip that.
Jesus.
I should come in.
There you go.
Distance.
Score.
Take it.
I didn't know. Straight on the list. Outside the right.
Yeah, it's hard. That can happen with the outside of the boot.
It goes wrong.
I'll go with the outside of the right boot this time. This could go anywhere.
I nearly stood over. Better attempt than mine. Right.
Never going over.
No.
That was the best.
0 from 3. So I just want to thank Diarmuid very much for taking his time to come out and meet me and kick a few wides that I did anyway. Big wind here, so that's why they all went wide. Isn't that right, Diarmuid?
That's right, yeah. I was the same. Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.
And just to kind of finish off today, we both have championship this weekend and we do not want to risk a race because I definitely am going to lose this one. So we're just going to go for a crossbar challenge off the deck from 21 metres. And I'll let you go first. Safe to say, County won today.